I gasped loudly as I dropped the knife from my wrist. Today marks the 10th anniversary of Leo's death. Hard to believe it's been that long. We had so much love left, so much adventure to share together. But that all came to a crashing end a decade ago on the day we found those doors. Without him, I have no meaning. I've got no job, no hobbies, no one to keep me connected to this world. So, every year on the night that Leo died, I wander out to the spot that it happened with a sharp blade in hand, completely numb from a bottle of pills, and I let the desert decide if I'm going to survive for another year or if I'm going to join him, wherever he is. Now that it's determined that I have at least one more ride on the earth, I'll tell you how I ended up here at rock bottom. I need to get this out while I still have the courage to tell this story. Don't know why though. I'm going to wake up sometime tomorrow evening with a terrible pain and no memory of tonight's events. I'd better tell you while I still can. I've lived on the edge of Death Valley National Park for my entire life. Don't bother looking it up. It's a fake name so nobody tries to seek out the horror that hides here. It's safer that way. As I was saying, I used to live out here in a trailer with my mom. I miss her so freaking much. She passed away 12 years ago, leaving me all alone. That was before Leo and I started dating. It's funny how things work out. I actually met him at a gas station on my way back from visiting Mom's grave. When he approached me and asked if I needed any help with the pump, I was instantly hooked. His bright green eyes sparkled like emeralds, short blonde hair spiked up in a playful manner, and that grin. When Leo grinned, it was as if time stopped, just for a moment, so that the whole world could bask in its dazzling charm. We were inseparable after that day. In a week, we were dating. In 6 more, we were living together in my trailer. And in another year, we were set to get married. Had a date and a place picked out and everything. I was on cloud 9. But that was all ripped from me in an instant. God, I wish I never would have taken him out there. I had my first encounter with the doors when I was 9. Mom had always warned me never to open them. That wasn't a problem for me though. The doors exuded a sinister presence. Like anyone who dared to peek behind them would be devoured by darkness alone. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was playing in the sand near the trailer when I saw it. A red wooden door that stood maybe 6 feet. It didn't lead anywhere, it just kind of stood. All the doors are like that. They vary in size and shape and color. But the one thing they all have in common is that they don't lead anywhere. And they're never in the same place twice. They just sort of materialize. No one knows how or why, and truthfully, we don't want to know. Most of us, that is. Leo wanted to know, and that curiosity cost him everything. Come on, babe, just a little further. I want to see the sunrise. Leo pleaded in protest at my suggestion to head back. Leo, I know you do, but we didn't bring water and our phone signals are weak. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like dying of thirst or getting lost on our way home. Oh, fine, you win. I'll go back this time, but promise me, we can come back tomorrow? He asked, sticking out his lower lip and looking up at me with his best puppy dog eyes. I'd be lying if I said they hadn't worked. All right, I'll take you back out here tomorrow, but only if you, I trailed off, mesmerized by the sight of them. Leo's brows furrowed in confusion as he followed my gaze, then his mouth fell open. Directly before us stood a sleek metal door. I got a sinking feeling in my gut the moment I laid eyes on that thing. It looked so out of place, like a snake in a bird's nest. What is that thing? Leo muttered, gaze still fixed to it. It's nothing. I'll tell you later, I said, grabbing his hand and leading him in the opposite direction. Ow, Sam, let go! Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Tell me what's going on or I'm not moving another inch. Leo protested, crossing his arms defiantly. I sighed. There was no point in hiding it any longer. He was going to find out eventually. Okay, so this is going to sound completely insane, but please bear with me. Ever since I've lived here, ever since anyone's lived here really, people have been finding random doors in the desert. They appear and disappear all the time, and you'll never find one in the same place twice. The doors are a bad omen. Something terrible happens if you open them, but no one quite knows what. All I know for certain is we need to stay far, far away from them. Leo rolled his eyes in response. Come on, Sam. Do you really expect me to believe that? A bad omen? Are you some kind of psychic now? Oh, a door. So scary, he said, waving his hands in a mocking gesture. Leo, do I look like I'm joking? I know it sounds crazy, but I wouldn't lie to you. He gently took my hands into his and met my gaze. You know I wouldn't accuse you of that. It's weird, but if it really bothers you that much, I won't press it, okay? Thank you. Now, let's go home. I'm hungry. Once we were out of sight of that awful thing, I could sense the tension starting to dissipate. It was as if a veil had been lifted. I fell asleep that night with a stomach full of pancakes and not a thought in the world besides the handsome guy cuddled in my arms. The doors had vanished from my brain just like they always did, until the next day. We both had the entire day off work, and before I knew it, Leo was dragging me back down the same path as the day prior to watch the sunrise. Butterflies fluttered in my stomach as we approached the spot that we'd seen the door the day before. Even so, Leo noticed it first. "Hey, isn't this the same place you pulled me away from yesterday? That door, it's gone. See? I told you they're a bad omen. Now do you believe me? I never said I didn't. It's just a strange phenomena, you know? Like seeing a mermaid. You don't really ever expect to find it, or in this case, not find it. It's a lot to process." I didn't know what to say. He'd hit the nail on the head with his analysis, except the doors were no mermaids. No, they were something far more sinister. We continued our walk in silence until we finally reached our destination. That morning will always stand out in my mind. The sky looked like a fireworks show. A stunning combination of red and yellow and blue exploded behind a scattering of dark, fluffy clouds. I'd never seen anything so spectacular. We stayed there well past the sun rose, staring up into a blaze of light, illuminating the day sky. "Thank you for keeping your promise. Today was perfect," Leo yawned, sleepily resting his head on my shoulder. "Every day with you is perfect. Thank you for dragging me out of the trailer. This really has been incredible. I love you so much." "You're welcome, dummy. I love you too." Leo chuckled softly, his eyes struggling to stay open. "All right, honey. I think it's time for us to go back. You can hardly stay awake. Just a little longer. You're so cozy," he protested, burying his face into my chest. My heart felt so full in that moment. What had I done to deserve such an amazing guy? "All right, up we go," I said, lifting him into my arms. "If your legs won't move, I have no choice but to carry you." "Oh no, how terrible. Whatever shall I do?" he quipped, wrapping his arms around my neck. "Nothing. Just stay still and let me." I froze mid-stride. I swallowed a dry lump in my throat as sweat began to bead atop my brow. In the brightness among the cacti, my flashlight beam fell upon a large, bulky object. They were back. "Sam? What's wrong? You look pale," Leo said, following the ray of light until he realized what I was looking at. A tall set of wooden stairs ascended to nowhere. They called to me, begging me to climb them. "Just one step, just one. That's all." "Sam, I feel it now. What you were talking about yesterday, I feel it. It's all wrong. They shouldn't be here," Leo whimpered, fear flashing across his pupils. Yeah, you're right," I said, ripping my gaze from the awful thing. "Just don't look at it. We're going to be okay." This time, I wasn't as relieved once we'd escaped the door's enticing pull. I'd never seen the doors 2 days straight before. They were always more erratic in their appearance, never showing up with any rhythm or consistency, so to see them twice made me a bit uneasy. Leo and I didn't mention the doors again that evening. We were both absolutely exhausted, and we were itching to get some much-needed rest. I'd be damned if I was going to let a stupid door ruin a good night's sleep. Leo was already snoring when I joined him in bed, and I was out the second my head hit the pillow. If only we could have made it until morning. Maybe then he'd still be here. I awoke in a pitch-black room. Leo was missing from his side of the bed. I didn't worry at first. It wasn't abnormal for him to sneak off to the kitchen in the middle of the night every once in a while. I didn't want to drift back off until I had him beside me though. I waited and waited to no avail. Then, after what felt like an eternity, I finally called out, "Hey, are you coming back to bed soon?" I received no response. That was when the panic set in. Leo would never ignore me like that. I leapt out of bed and dashed for the kitchen. It was empty. My heart began to pound against my ribcage like a jackhammer. Sirens were blaring in my head, telling me that something was wrong, and I felt helpless to silence them. I turned the whole trailer inside out with no results. Leo was nowhere to be found. Then, amongst all the chaos, an idea flickered in my head. Why hadn't I thought of it sooner? Leo's phone was missing from the bedside table, but I could track his location on Find My Friends. I fumbled to unlock my own phone and open the app. I had to know that he was okay. I loaded up the app and located Leo's icon. He was close. The app said that he was only a few hundred feet from the trailer. I threw on a pair of jeans and sprinted out into the scorching day heat. I ran, barefoot, across sand and rocks and thorns. I didn't have time to grab shoes. Right then, I didn't care if my feet were torn to ribbons, as long as Leo was okay. I eventually reached the point where his phone should have been. I frantically called it, praying that he would pick up this time. I saw something flash amongst the cacti, and not far beyond it, I found who I was searching for. But instead of being overcome with joy upon finding the love of my life, my blood turned to ice. Leo's face was partially illuminated by the sunlight shining through the clouds. He was gazing down at me with tears streaming down his cheeks. Below his feet sat a door. This time, it was ancient. Brown, wooden planks creaked even in the stillness, topped off with a rusty metal handle. The door looked as if it would lead straight to hell itself, and that terrified me. Dread crashed over me like a tidal wave as we stared at each other. I wanted to move. I wanted to sprint up to him and sweep him off those god-forsaken things. But I couldn't. I was rooted in place, forced to watch as the guy of my dreams opened the final door. Sam, please, I don't want to go. I love you and I want to stay with you forever. I had to know. I could feel them calling to me. Please don't let them take me. Leo sobbed uncontrollably, reaching out a hand toward me. I wanted to grab it, to pull him into my arms, to tell him that everything was going to be okay, but I was stuck. I was forced to watch in abject horror as Leo involuntarily opened that one last looming door. It felt as if time had slowed to a crawl. 1 second I was paralyzed, eyes locked on Leo and that vile door, and the next, I was all alone. Leo and the door had vanished, whisked into the hot day air like they'd never existed at all. The burden of that day will stay with me until the day I die. I wailed, I screamed, I pounded the sand until my palms were bloody and my throat was hoarse. Leo had been taken from me, right before my very eyes, and I did absolutely nothing. I blamed myself for a long time after that. Hell, I still do. I don't think I'll ever be able to move on. That's my punishment, I suppose. Living out a dull, meaningless life while images of my lost boyfriend run through my head day in and day out. It's why I take pills. Strangely enough, I've never seen the doors again. They're really the only reason that I'm still here. Because maybe if I just give in, maybe if I convince myself to open that one last mysterious door, then there might be a chance that I'll be reunited with Leo. And for me, that's a chance that I have to take.